Hey everybody, Untested here with a bit of a different type of video. As many are already aware, Cody over at Taking 20 released a video recently about some critiques he has with the Pathfinder 2e system and how those led him to no longer want to play Pathfinder 2nd Edition. I'll be paraphrasing his views here throughout the video, so if you want his full opinion, I've linked his video here as well as in the description. While Cody prefaced his video saying he's biased towards Paizo due to their gracious treatment of him as a content creator, I have to say that I honestly don't know where my biases lie. I played D&D 3.5 and migrated over to Pathfinder 1st Edition during my high school and college days, and though life in corporate America got in the way of enjoying tabletop games the way I did back then, I still enjoyed the massive outpouring of content here on YouTube as well as in other places when 5th Edition came out. I literally had no idea that 2nd Edition was a thing until I came across a cool rulebook in a Barnes & Noble and impulse bought every book I saw just because I was so bored during quarantine. When I looked online to see if the 2nd Edition was receiving the same love as 5e with regards to content creation on YouTube, I was disappointed to see that that wasn't the case. It's no secret that I basically lifted Tulak the Barbarian's whole channel and applied it to Pathfinder 2e. He's fun, engaging, and works a ridiculous schedule that I couldn't even hope to match. I want folks to be able to one day have a massive resource for character and NPC inspiration for 2nd edition as Tulak has for 5th edition. Because of that focus on fictional characters, I kind of exist in a vacuum here on YouTube, and maybe that needs to change. Since I do feel that we as Pathfinder content creators do need to work together if we want to see even a fraction of the success in the minds of the general public as D&D 5e has. Cody makes a few valid points, but the one I want to focus on here is how he feels that the 2e system is very good at giving players the illusion of choice, as he puts it. He sees his players using MMO-style ability rotations every combat encounter. Simply put, he's tired of running it, and his players are tired of their own repetitive playstyles. In response, I'll take some inspiration from yet another popular 5e YouTuber, RuneSmith. He has a theory that if your players ever feel railroaded into a certain playstyle, then there's really only two reasons that they could ever feel that way. Either they genuinely enjoy that style of play, or it's because you, as the DM, are rewarding them for that playstyle. Simply put, if the only thing you reward your players with from a combat encounter is dead bodies littering the map to get to the next social encounter, then you can't expect them to do anything but take out whatever is in their path as efficiently as possible. So here are 3 ways you can reward your players for non-repetitive combat, ordered from easiest to implement to possibly the hardest. The simplest way to change things up already exists in the game. I'm talking about hero points. Now, I realize this is a bit of a dicey topic. Not everybody likes how they were implemented in 2e, but they could be used as direct rewards for flashy and creative playstyles, or for staying in character despite what may be the most optimal way to play. When I build characters for the channel, I take into account the personality of the character as much as their actual abilities. While a hyper-focused hunter like Kaisa might truly use the most efficient strategy every encounter, a character like Jinx wants to show off her arsenal of weapons and traps at every turn. Then you have Judge Dredd, who is more likely to try to demoralize an enemy into surrendering or fleeing using his authority before escalating into violence. Those 3 characters, all built as rangers, have 3 completely different playstyles, and as a GM, I would award points to those players based not on whether they defeated the enemy, but instead on how well they brought the encounter to life with their characters' personalities and abilities. Another way to reward your players for varied play is by giving them knowledge of the enemy's weaknesses. If you just tell them it's a mysterious monster they've never seen before, then all they really will be able to do is attack and see what happens. But if you let them gain information throughout the build up to the encounter and show them that sometimes a sequence may be suboptimal on paper, but can become greater than the sum of its parts, they'll remember that encounter and start trying all kinds of things that you might not even expect the next time around. The third way is a little more tough, but not completely undoable. Remember, as GM, you control not just what the NPCs and environments are, but also how they react to the players. If you as a GM want your players to vary their tactics, then you have to vary the tactics of the enemies they are facing as well. If your party is up against a group and one player decides to do a superhero landing in the middle of a pack, dealing damage to all the surrounding enemies, perhaps taking out some of the fight immediately, would it really make sense for the rest of them to just blindly charge in? Maybe instead they decide to retreat, and now your back alley brawl becomes a chase scene through an urban environment. If the Rangers and Rogues are picking off enemies from a distance, then maybe the enemies turtle up in their hideout, and what was before a straightforward series of fights instead becomes a siege, and your players have to decide whether they could survive being bottlenecked at an entrance or if there's another way to slip past their defenses. In short, a static environment breeds static encounters, and players are always going to do what they feel is their best option to see the next part of the story. And that's the most important thing we have to remember. At the table, or in the Zoom call, or wherever you roleplay these days, the goal is always to tell a story. And that can be done with every sword swing and every spell cast. The rules and adventure paths we have at our disposal are just frameworks to guide everything. Nothing is set in stone. It's all untested at the end of the day.